Are you ready to live your dream? Motivation, inspiration, and passion. That's what it takes to make dreams come true. Welcome to the Nadia Sahari Show. Our guests will share important tips, insights, and knowledge to help you fulfill your dreams of success. Here's your host, actress, author, entrepreneur, Nadia Sahari.
Here I am. It's been a while, and I'm back. Not the I'm back the other way, you know, the one that we saw in the movie, I'm back, that was evil. I'm the good guy. I'm the good girl. Okay, here we are, and I have a great show for you today. He's an author, he's a filmmaker, and he's a beautiful soul, and I can't wait to get him on here. But first of all, you know that my show is about dreams, and, you know, I have this show. I'm not making money off of this show. I'm not making millions, so don't think I'm doing this because I'm cashing in, because I'm not. I'm doing this because I love people. I love to put positivity out there. I love to educate and inspire people and motivate them to live their dreams and never give up. That's why I do this show. And I've been doing it for 10 years. And I missed a couple years, but I've been doing it for 10 years. So life got hard, so I had to take a break. So here we are. I invite my guests to the show, or they contact me and say, hey, I want to be on your show. So here we are. And they share their secrets with you, with us, their journey and their challenges. And we all have challenges. It's life. It is life. And we learn from those challenges. So how did they do it? That's what we want to know. What are they doing now to keep that success going, maintaining that success? My guest today, like I said, is a filmmaker and an author. And I'm going to bring him on, and I want you to help me and welcome to the Nadia Sahari Show, Neville Diony. Welcome to the Nadia Sahari Show. I'm so happy to have you.
Thank you for having me, Nadia. It's a pleasure to actually talk to you today.
I'm so glad. I can't wait because I've been reading your book, and it's quite interesting. So let's talk about your book first. Tell the audience the title of it and why you wrote it.
Well, again, like I said, I'm really happy to be here with you. It's a positive thing that you're doing, and I think the world needs people like you. I heard your intro. You're not making any money of it, so we'll have to find a way so you can start making money of this, because people, you can go global and everybody can actually listen to you and hear, because there's so many beautiful people in the world, and I feel like they don't get the opportunity to be exposed, and so people like you touch me in a special way.
Oh, you're going to make me cry, Neville.
No, don't do that. Don't do that. We don't cry. We're in a happy place.
Oh, thank you. I mean, a good cry. Good cry.
Okay,
not a sad one.
Good
a
cry.
happy one.
Okay.
But I know you're from New York City, and I've been to New York. I love New York, and I've been to a lot of the Broadway plays and everything. So now you're in Texas, and you're going to be a filmmaker, but we're going to talk about that. But first, let's talk about you and your book. And It's called Forget Norms. I wanted you to say it, but I said it instead.
I'm happy you did that.
Go ahead. So tell us, what was the meaning behind that title?
Well, we live in a world where our society has a lot of social norms and social traditions, which are not necessarily laws. So when you break those norms, maybe somebody might not necessarily like you for doing them, but you're not going against what the government has instituted as laws. But for most of us, those norms rule our lives more than the laws of our society. I know too many people who've never committed any crime in the world, but they can't live a happy life because they feel fat in their skin. They feel like they're not pretty enough. They feel like they don't fit the profile of a model, or they don't fit a profile of this. And those things make them feel unhappy. So to me, that guy or that lady is no different from the one who broke the law and is locked up in jail. So my whole thing was to write a book to say, well, the guy in jail did something that society considered as bad. You just have to free yourself by living to your utmost potential. And what's holding you back is all these things that society put in place and have in place, not necessarily because they're bad or good, but it's just because it's there. But you don't have to live under those, you don't have to subject yourself under those conditions. So I wanted to write a book that is very direct. I wanted to write something that is very provocative. I want people to challenge themselves based on what they know about themselves and how they relate to a society. So, like, for instance, I'll use an example of you. I just learned something about you. Everything that you knew growing up until you were about a certain age was Muslim. Mm-hmm. And as you come of age, you came to realize that, you know what, this doesn't really fit the profile that I find comfortable for me. Mm-hmm. And you had to break away from that. Mm-hmm. Now, there's somebody who might have that same feeling, but they love the tradition and they feel like my parents or this and all that stuff. So they inconveniently or uncomfortably still live under those conditions and cannot get away from it. And I'm writing to them to say, analyze your life and see whether those things that you accept as beliefs, those things that you accept as traditions, do they work for you? If they work for you, then enjoy them. Mm-hmm. If they don't work for you, then find something else that works for you so you can really live this life and enjoy it. Because if you can enjoy life in your little corner and I can enjoy life in my little corner, when we meet, it's going to be an explosion of enjoyment. But if you sat in your little corner and I'm happy in my little corner, whenever we get to meet, we'll have some friction because, and I don't even know where yours is coming from. So I just want to find a way where the world could be one big happy place by us being able to live within our true selves.
Neville, it's incredible that you're talking this way because I have been thinking about love and hate and how prevalent hate is in this world right now. And the diseases that are occurring from that hate. And I've been thinking about this and thinking about it. I have so much going on in my head right now. And I want everyone to start loving each other. God created us to love each other. And unfortunately, people play games with love.
Absolutely.
Exactly. They play games. Love is not supposed to be a game. You are supposed to love each other and love your neighbor as you love yourself. And the problem the world has, each individual, there's so many of them that do not love who they are. They don't love themselves. That's the problem. Number one problem is they don't love God. Number two, they don't love themselves. Therefore, they cannot love anybody else.
Yeah, and that there's something I touched in the book when we talk about love in the book. This is one of my big chapters too that I like. I touched a lot about relationship because I think in a world, in our society, all of us have gifts.
Yes.
But your gift is really not for you. Your gift is to empower other people.
Yes.
And so if you don't love them, you can't give them your gift. And when you hold on to your gift, it does nothing good to you because it was never purposed for you.
That's right.
Like so you can hold on to it all you want, but you're always going to be at the same place. And I talked about love from a perspective of, say, just think about
Excuse
something.
me, Neville.
Yeah.
That's just like the man with the talents in the Bible. The one that held on to the talents. He didn't do anything with it.
And nothing happened to him.
Nothing happened. That's right.
And you can and you talked about people not loving themselves, and I'm saying that is actually a good start because you cannot give something that you don't have. So It has to be reciprocal. So if it leaves you, it's only going to come back to you. But if it doesn't leave you, it won't come back. But another thing is, if you don't even know what love is, how do you give it?
Right.
So that's why the loving yourself has to be something where you take for granted. I'll tell you a short story. I was in a relationship where I don't want to say I was mentally abused, but I think I was confused. And when that relationship ended, it's actually one of the best things that I think happened to me because it forced me to really understand what self-love is.
Yes.
Was I self-loving myself in that relationship? Because if I wasn't self-loving myself in that relationship and authentically, was I giving my partner an authentic love? Mm-hmm. And so when I came to realize it, I said to myself, I said, whoa. So she was not all that bad because the truth is, I wasn't even that truthful to myself. Not that I intended to not be truthful, but I just didn't even know how to appreciate myself.
Yes.
And so if I'm not able to appreciate myself, how do I even know when she's appreciating me or depreciating me?
Right.
And so I spent 2 years and I said, you know what? No dating, nothing. Leave all this stuff alone. Just Neville and himself. I have to figure out who I am. What do I like? What are the things, like some of the things that I think I'm giving the world now is things that were taught to me to give the world. But some of them, it's hard for me to give them because I didn't, first of all, appreciate those things, let alone embrace them. So I learned myself to figure out what are the things that are core of me? Who am I? Before I can go in now and say, I'm getting in a relationship and I'm giving this person my gifts. Yes. It goes back to that gift thing that I said, my gifts were not for me. So you have to also know those gifts and then you're able to give the world. And that's why I think the whole process of love stems from. And that's really what the book, I'm really trying to get people to understand that you have the ability to know who you are so that way you could give us your genuine self without being tainted by all these other things that some of them don't apply to you. It's the same thing with the Bible. The story of Moses may not apply to me because guess what? I'm not cut like Moses. The story of David may not apply to you. The story of Sarah in the Bible may not apply to Nadia because God didn't cut Nadia as Sarah. But the story of Ruth may apply to you. So when you read in the book of Ruth and you feel like, this feels like me, that's because God cut you from the same fabric. It doesn't mean you should ignore Sarah's story because we all have to interact with one another. But you have to understand that when I read Sarah's story, or when I read Moses' story, when I read Job's story, I'm not cut like Job. But I respect what God is doing in Job's life, just as he did in my life, and as he did in Jacob's life, and as he did in everybody else's life. So it's the same thing with how we interact with each other, and all those things stem from us being able to understand our fundamentals of who I am as a person, what my purpose is in this world, and what gifts do I have to give Nadia whenever I meet Nadia.
You know what's really strange? You know, you're right about David and Job and Sarah and everyone. It's true that we may not have experienced what they did or how they did it and what happened to them. However, God's intention of telling us about them is to teach us what happened then and what he did and how he blessed those people. Because
Absolutely.
They had faith in him and they trusted him, and
Yes.
he showed us why he gave them blessings and gave them the riches and whatever he gave them. Each one received something different. And it was because they loved him, trusted him, and had faith in him.
Faith in
them,
exactly.
That's what he wants us to learn, that whatever we go through, if we trust him and have faith in him and love him, he will bless us as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. And that's why I said you have to read their story to understand those three things, that yes. This is what I'm supposed to do. Not that I have to be Moses and go part seas. No. But this is what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to love God. I'm supposed to trust him. And I'm supposed to have faith in him. Then the things that he's supposed to do in my life will manifest.
Yes.
Whatever those things are. That is up. I like the fact that you helped me clarify that. Thank you so much. Yes.
Oh, no. But I'm just saying, but that's good. But yes, you're right. I mean, we're not going to part the sea, but we have, our problems are like the sea. And exactly. It's like we feel like we're drowning, and we feel like we're in that water, and it's above our heads, and we can't breathe. And when that happens, that's when God teaches us, you can come out of the water, stick your head out, trust me, love me, have faith in me. I'll bring you out of that sea.
Exactly.
And he will.
Absolutely.
When he's ready, when he knows you're ready, because we're not always ready. We are never not good enough to God. We're always good enough to God. But he has to make sure that we trust him and have faith in him before he gives us the desires of our hearts.
Absolutely, yes.
Well, I'm thinking about being a preacher, actually.
But you should, actually. I'll show up at the church. You should.
Well, maybe you can be my co-pastor.
Hey, if you invite me, I'm coming.
Okay. So, well, that is great. And, in your book, you say something so weird because in my podcast, I called it, "It's Not Easy," meaning life isn't easy. And I told people to say, "Hello, how are you?" to people on the street or in the shopping center. Because I'll tell you, when I do that, people are stunned because at first they're like double take because nobody talks to them.
Wow.
And so I shared that. And I think that if we all did that, can you imagine what would happen in this world?
Absolutely, yes.
And you say here, if you say good morning to someone, you expect him or her to say it back to you.
Yes.
Otherwise, you think they're rude.
Yes.
If they don't.
Yes.
And most of us don't say good morning. Here's what you say. Qualifies as a form of greeting. I had someone who tried to justify the fact that it is more of a wish to someone. While I purposely choose not to research its origin, I highly doubt any of it will make sense. In the case where this is not so, emotions become what we rely on. Our feelings are one of the most faulty signals that we can use to determine any situation. So are you saying that we should expect people to say good morning back to us or not?
Well, what I'm saying is that you should expect only that which comes from you. So there are two things that I think, and we've touched a little bit about this. There's an alignment that we have to a source, which you and I, appreciate God and call him the King.
Yes.
And then there's also an alignment that we align ourselves to people. But there's something that has to happen. If you notice, when you're in a Christian setting, everyone kind of feel relaxed. You can leave your pocketbook right there and walk off and sit outside and talk for hours. You just feel like everyone who's in there, no one is going to do something to harm you by taking your wallet away from you or taking your credit cards and go on a shopping spree.
Right.
But when you're in a different setting that is not of a Christian place, when you get up to go even to the bathroom and you realize that you forgot your purse, you run right back to it, grab it, and then take it with you to the bathroom. The reason is because even though you connect with those people, you understand that you both don't align to a source.
Yes.
Which in that setting, outside of church, is God. So now there are certain things that you have to create your own form of protection from because you understand about the world. And so what I was trying to put in that sentence was the fact that if I'm saying good morning to somebody who I'm in a happy place and I'm saying good morning to them and they don't say good morning back to me, it should not make my morning not good.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
It just means that we don't align to the same place that I'm coming from with my day, which is a happy place, and they're not there. Now, if I have the time to dissect their life and try to get them to the same frequency that I'm on, I'll do that. But in the case of that, you can keep it moving and not make that a problem to you. It's like, why did he say good morning to me? Oh my goodness, I can't believe that. Then you start to lose your own frequency by being towards them. It's like they say bad news travels further than good news.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes.
So whenever you get to a place where it's too bad, you almost start to feel like you start to lose some of your good in you. It's like being in a place where everybody is corrupt and you got to deal with them. But you know for a fact that I do not appreciate corruption, and you start to find yourself struggling whether or not you should at least even try to just bend the rules a little bit, but that's because that's what the place is. So my whole thing was to say our hearts and our emotions are faulty because they tend to gravitate towards what's popular. They tend to gravitate towards what's more polarizing.
Yeah.
But if you are able to stand your ground and not lean on that and say, okay, I said good morning to this guy, I don't really know if he's having a good day, bad day. All I know is that I'm cool. I wasn't... he didn't say good morning back to me. It doesn't change my morning. It has nothing to do with me. If I have the opportunity to talk to him and I want to know why, I will. You keep your day moving. Yeah. And a lot of things, even in our relationship, some of the things that we even fight about in the world are so petty. And so they just come from that place where, and I want to step this a little bit further. Mm-hmm. That's where the ego resides. The ego resides. Always be about me. I said good morning to him. How dare he not say good morning to me? Mm-hmm. But that's what I was really trying to point out in that statement, to say, it's fault when you feel like that person is not doing it, because now you are starting to lean towards a negative aspect of what human relationship is. You stay happy. Keep saying good morning to 30 people.
Yes.
And keep it moving.
That's right. Absolutely. Yeah. I love it. We're going to take a short break, and we will be right back. So don't go away, Neville.
I'm right here.
Check out the all-new Nadia Sahari Show. It's today's hottest new talk show and rated 5 stars on iTunes, featuring amazing guests and inspiring stories of today. All genres, all dreams, no limits. Visit thenadiasaharishow.com and get the app for Apple and Android. Easy streaming and listening. Have a business? Why not become a sponsor of the show and take your brand to the next level? Email us at info@thenadiasaharishow.com for our complete sponsor and advertising package deals. Let the show inspire you, motivate you, and educate you to your dream and to your success. Only on and always on the Nadia Sahari Show, the place where dreams really do come true.
And we're back with author, filmmaker, Neville Diony. I love that name, Neville Diony. Really good sounding.
Thank you.
Yeah, I like it. So, okay, well, I also read that, that it's so strange. You're in your book that you had this stuff about the brain and everything, and I've been studying the brain patterns lately, and learning about brain patterns, and the life that we're living today really isn't life. It's bringing all the stuff from our past, our childhood. And it's a pattern from the past, from all the bad things that went on in our lives, or the good things, but we bring them into our lives today when we should not. We need to bring fresh, new, just now, whatever is happening today, because today is all we have. And yes. I've been studying the brain, and I studied the brain years ago, but I like what you said about that you walk the same path 20 times a day, and that you're not thinking about a different thought. When you have a pattern, it's the same. Everything is the same. You haven't changed anything. It's all the same as it was when you were a child, whether it was good or bad.
Absolutely.
And it's so ingrained in your brain, and I'm learning how to change. I'm changing my pattern. It's not weird, because God, you're here for a reason. God put
Absolutely.
You on this show for a reason. And
that's true. I mean, Nadia, a lot of us are on autopilot.
Yes.
A lot of us are
like that.
Yeah, a lot of us are on autopilot in our relationships, in our jobs, and everything that we choose to do. When we start looking at jobs, the first thing we ask ourselves is, how much money is it pay? If you tell somebody right now and say, hey, I'm going to offer you a job, the first thing they'll ask you is, how much is the pay?
Yes.
So once the pay sounds comfortable to what they wanted to do, there's something subconsciously that blocks everything else outside of the pay, and then they start to look at the job for what it is. So I'm not a biologist. I mean, you've studied the brain. You probably know more than I do. I was just going off inspiration and what God put in my spirit to write, and the little bit of biology that I know. But what I wanted to point out was the fact that everything has to be analyzed at every point in life. Mm-hmm. And when we go back even to what we talked about in the Bible, where it says, when you're a child, you drink milk. So when you're an adult, milk is not so much what it is. And if you give a baby put meat in their mouth, you'll come back and see a whole piece of meat still sitting there, unless he can swallow it.
Unless they choke to death.
Or unless they choke to death.
You're going to choke to death.
Nobody's choking to death here, Nadia.
Okay.
But what I'm getting at is the fact that every time there's a time and place for everything, and I know we've talked a lot about God, and for those who are listening to the show who are not so much big on God, I mean, we don't apologize that we relate everything to Him, but I want you to understand this as you listen to this piece. Everything has a time for when it's supposed to be ready to go. Yes. When they create the little chip for an iPhone. And yes, that is the chip that makes you listen to somebody else from the other side. But that chip needs a speaker so you can hear them. Mm-hmm. And until all those things are completely done, then we say, okay, the iPhone is ready. Now we can put it and send it to a market. When they make the tires for the car, they make the steering wheel for the car, they create all these things. the car is not ready until it's assembled. So we can't say this car was built in 1955 because the tires were made in 1955. No, the car was built in 1956 because when they put the tires, they put the steering wheel and all that. It's the same thing with our lives. There are some things in our lives that are going to be there, and these patterns may change even though you feel like you're going through. So it's a matter of you being able to reanalyze and look at everything. And the one thing I really wanted to point out, because the book is really about the norms when I wrote that statement, was the fact that there is somebody who's orchestrating our lives. For Christians, they say he's the author and finisher of our faith. Yeah. So that person is the one who knows where your puzzle is supposed to be at any point in life. When you decide to say, I want to do this, and I want to do this, I want to do this, you still not necessarily have to ask permission, but you have to align yourself to the person who gives you the strength to do it. And so when you realize that it's not being done the way that your desires were, it's another thing I talked about the book and say our desires are one of our biggest mistakes, because we always want to lean on the fact that, I want ice cream. But God is saying, you shouldn't be wanting ice cream in the first place. You should be wanting something else. So I'm not going to give you ice cream, though you want it that bad. So I was looking for ways where I wanted us to realize that autopilot living is not a good thing, because autopilot living comes from years of being instructed on how to do. Like when we're born, our parents are teaching us, he's such a nice kid. He's such a nice kid. He grew up this way. And we learn all those things, and we develop a personality from those feelings that our mom and dad gave us. Yes. When we're 5, 7, and yes. And so now when we become of age and I'm interacting with other people, I start to realize that who I knew of myself, or who I was being told I am, when my parents were telling me, he's so kind, or he's so mean, or whatever the case may be, it's not necessarily what it is here. And so now, what do I have to do? Do I continue to tell myself that this is who I am, or do I adapt to this new person that I've known myself to be? And so those are the things where I say, when you live on autopilot, you don't give yourself time to readjust to the new things that you learn. And at 50, you're going to learn something new about yourself. At 75, you're going to learn something new about yourself. Life to me is an ever-changing, endless classroom that all of us will be in until the day we exit the earth. And so it would also always present us with opportunities for us to be able to learn who we really are and who we were. So sometimes I meet somebody and they challenge me in a way that I've never been challenged in that way. That's one of the reasons why I personally love to travel, because I'm like, the day I go to China, the day I go to India, the day I go to all those places, my thought process of the world will be challenged in a little bit. It will be. And those things are things where I will come back either the same way if I'm stubborn, or I'll learn something new about myself and incorporate it and continue to be this good person that I want to be in spite of what it is that I'm learning from the world. And I'll say this real quick. It's funny I'm bringing this up because you mentioned something about being a Muslim before in your early life. And I was talking to my sister and we were having a conversation about God. And she said, Muslim people are just ruthless. I said, coming from a Christian, I understand where you're coming from. I said, but I want to point out something to you. I think most of them are following a tradition similarly to how you are following a Christian tradition. Now, for Christians, we've come to believe that this is the best way, and you can attest to that because you made the switch. I said, but I want you to imagine if you were born a Muslim. This would be something that you have to come to realize that it's bad, then you change. I said, so a child that's born in a Muslim land, so would you say that God hates the child and that's why he sent him to a clan of people who are ruthless? Or did these people just find a tradition that is coming to haunt them, if you want to look at it from that perspective? And she sat quiet. I said, these are some of the issues that we deal with in life when we live an autopilot life. We never want to look at the other person's demise as if there is something that they didn't have to commit a crime to be in, but they have to learn something new for them to come out of if they find it appealing on the other side. I said, so there's a young kid who's being born right now to a Muslim lady in Iraq. Is that young kid cursed? So that's where we have to leave the autopilot life and be able to put ourselves in each other's shoes. And we'll realize that what the world has always does for us is to pitch me and you against each other. Men and women are pitched against each other. Different nations are pitched against each other. I do understand that. But you and I, Nadia and Neville, have to look at each other and say, well, Nadia, what's your strength? Nadia asked me, Neville, what's your strength? Well, let's capitalize on those things and we'll figure out how to use our strength to diminish our weaknesses.
Yes.
Whenever the purpose is certain for both parties, then all this other, and the outside thing, it doesn't even, it's like the thing where they say all the water in the ship cannot sink the ship until it gets into the ship. So therefore you have to poke a hole in the ship. So those are all those things. But living an autopilot life does not give you the opportunity for you to critically analyze certain things and see where you come from and make some of those, like even decisions that we make in life. Most people don't want to admit to the fact that they were wrong. It's very hard for them to come and say, I'm sorry. But it's because autopilot gives you that whole mentality of saying that which I know is all which I know and I'm sticking with it.
Yes. And I like what you said about when we're children, and we are influenced by what our parents did or how they raised us, what they said to us, how they treated us. The environment that we grew up in is what kind of adult we turn out to be. However, when you're an adult, you have the capability and
Yes.
you should change what isn't favorable that you learned as a child or grew up with as a child to make yourself a better person, because not everything you grew up with or was said to you or done to you or the environment or whatever was great. And it could have
Absolutely.
been. It could have been. If it was, God bless you. But if it wasn't, then you need to change. You need to say, you know what? I'm not that child anymore.
Absolutely.
I am an adult. I need to change and treat people differently. I need to know what love is because I really didn't get nurtured as a child. Maybe, you know what I'm saying? When you're an adult, you got to be a man and you got to be a woman and you got to say, there's something wrong here. If I can't give love and I can't feel love and I don't have love, then I didn't grow up with love. I need to find out how to get love. And if you really have God in your heart, you will know what love is and you'll be able to give it.
Or you will humble yourself and say, sister, I didn't grow up with love.
Yes.
You shouldn't be ashamed of some of those things. This
That's
is why I
right.
say when you forget enough, you come and say, Miss Nadia, I've noticed that you're so happy with people. You always walk around and greet them. I'm struggling to do that because I didn't grow like that. Can you teach me how to do that?
Yes, absolutely.
Can
Absolutely.
you teach me how, like this? That's why I say when you forget norms, when you because like you said, and I want to say this on air now. I'm
Yes.
sorry for anybody who grew up 100% right. I'm sorry. I don't know if there's anything as that.
I don't think
You know?
so.
So
Nobody had
if your childhood
upbringing.
was that perfect, then I want to be reborn by your parents. I'm sorry.
Yes,
So-
but nobody had a perfect upbringing. No one.
No
We all
one.
came from dysfunction. Every one of us.
Every single one of us, from the
Yes.
president of nations, every single one of us. So therefore, we cannot live life on autopilot and feel like everything is just what it is, because it's not. So when you have that in your system and you start to analyze these things and you start to realize that, okay, cool, I'm an adult now. I make my own decisions.
Yes.
Which that I have to reanalyze some of the decisions that were made to me when I wasn't an adult. And if that decision came out where I wasn't favorable, I have a 3-year-old daughter, and I think I call her like she's 30 if you ask me. But this evening, I told her, I have an interview for a radio show, so I need to take a nap. So my mind is kind of refreshed. She was like, okay, I'll take a nap with you. So we're taking a nap, and then she wakes up. So I'm, getting my mind ready for it because I'm a big fan of meditations as well. And so she's wanting to talk to me, and I'm like, Ariana, I'm in a zone here. Do you mind? And she looks at me and she's like, you shouldn't talk to kids like that. I said, what are you talking about? She's like, whenever kids talk to you, you should give them your attention. And for a split second, I'm looking at her like, this is a reincarnate or something. It's like, you're 3. How do you talk to me like that? And every time that she say those things, it reminds me of how much I have to guide her to be who she is, as opposed to teach her who she is.
Beautiful. I love it.
So, and I grew up in a family home where I wasn't guided to be who I am. I was taught of who I was. And so as I became of age, I struggled with life because who I was taught to be was not practical to who I really felt I was on the inside. And I'm not talking this whole other stuff, but this is just being able to be fair. I grew up in an environment where truth was not applauded for. So when somebody comes in and say, you know, who took that, or you see someone's stuff and you take it and they ask and you don't say it was you don't feel any type of guilt, or even if you do feel it, you just kind of suppress it. You know, being fair was not the norms of the day for everybody. But as I grew up, I came to realize that, you know, this is not me. I'm a fair person. Like if I'm not qualified, give it to the person who's qualified. That's how I truly feel in my spirit. Yeah. Because I also fundamentally believe that my qualifications will get me to where I'll get to, because it's a God that provides for everyone. So if he can provide for them because they're more qualified than me, then according to my own qualification, he'll provide for me. So I don't have to rob you of your qualifications. But that's not something. But so I had this conversation also with my mother, and she was telling me, she said, but, you know, this is how everybody does. I said, but you don't have to do it like that, because deep down in you, you know for a fact that norm it's not supposed to be your norm. So why do you keep doing it? And we're just having this conversation. Not that she was doing anything wrong. So it's that same thing that I really want people, when they read the book, they understand that, to me, there are two you. There is the you that the world is teaching you to be, or maybe several yous. There's a you that the world is teaching you to be. There is a you that your family taught you to be. But the truthful you is the you that you've come to know. And sometimes it might align with what your mom told you that you are. That's good. And if it aligns, then by all means, stretch that and make the world a better place with that. But if you realize at any point that I'm struggling with who I thought I was based on my upbringing, based on my environment, based on all these things, when I wasn't able to make adult decisions, now that I'm able to make adult decisions, I should start to eliminate myself from those thought processes. I should start to eliminate myself from those places. I should not mentally imprison myself to that norm when I know better now. So, good morning. Good morning. How are you? Good morning. Oh, nice to see you. That's good. That's who I am. But I grew up in a place where when someone says good morning, I don't want to say nothing to them. So that conflict as an adult should not exist. Otherwise, living in autopilot life, and you're not forgetting the norms that you shouldn't hold on to.
You're right, and it's so good, because especially if you're on autopilot and you're around the people that brought you up and raised you, and they're still living that same way with that pattern, and you can see what they're doing is wrong, and you see that in yourself, you better change it, because you're going to ruin your life.
Absolutely. The one thing about life is that it doesn't lie, Nadia.
No, it doesn't.
This is the thing that people, and even in the book where I talked about, a lot of people feel like, you know, when they pray and lie to God, God, I don't want to do this, and then they do it. They think they're lying about life. Doesn't lie. You plant corn on the ground, corn is going to grow.
Yes.
You plant oranges, apple will not come from an orange tree. It will have orange. Yes. So you have to decide whether or not you want apple fruit in front of your house, or you want an orange tree. But there are a lot of people who will plant an apple tree hoping that an orange tree grows up.
But you know what? You have to be a mature adult, and you have to want to change your behavior to the better to have your happiness and peace in life. If you're not mature enough to see the imperfections that are there in front of your eyes within your family, then you're immature. You're not mature enough. You're still a child, and you're still living as a child, because your family's not letting you grow up to make those changes in your life.
And in relationship, we have a lot of women who meet 40-plus-year-old men, and yes, the age says 40, but the reasoning says 2.
Yes, and it's sad, because
Oh yeah.
You can't have an adult and a child relationship. It's okay to play and be children once in a while. That's great. But you have to be mature adult and take responsibilities and see that things need to be changed. If you have conflict, why do I have conflict? Let's talk about it. Let's change this. Let me see what's wrong. What am I doing wrong? Okay, yes, I saw that. I saw my mom and dad doing that. Oh, that's what I was doing. Oh dear, I better change that behavior, because my life is going to be just like my mom and dad. And that's what happens. We start living.
And that's what happens.
Start living. We are the clones of our parents if we don't change our behavior.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, another thing that I wanted to point out, I don't want people to think that I'm one-sided. I want to point this out. The whole goal is for you to be happy. It's for you. So if you are living your mom and dad's life and you are genuinely happy, by all means, be happy that way.
Yes.
Because that's you.
Yes.
But if you're having conflict, like Nadia was pointing out, and that's what I pointed out in the book as well, if you find yourself at any point second guessing what you're doing, therefore there's conflict, therefore you have to go back and try to forget a lot of these norms and traditions that you were raised by and develop your own. And then true happiness will come. So that way when I see you on the street and I say good morning, you give me back the joy of saying good morning and we have a happy day. Because it's about people living up to their full potential. And I think one of the best way for you to live up to your full potential is to, one, understand what maturity is, and two, embrace your true self and live in it. It's like a uniform that you wear and say, you know what, this is me and I am going to showcase this to the world. That's knowing right. That I won't harm anybody with being me. I'm not going to make you feel that bad of being me, but this is just me. And present that to the world. You will add more love and joy to the world.
Cool. Well, we haven't even talked about your filmmaking. So let's talk about your filmmaking. What's going on with you as a filmmaker?
Nadia, you know the industry better than I do. That it's a tough place.
Very tough.
It's a tough place, but if it's something that you have a passion for, it's almost impossible for you to get up and say, I'm not. So we keep fighting. So I have a few projects that I'm working on now. Actually, I took a break from filmmaking because it had gotten to a point where I wanted to reanalyze what I'm doing and what my presence is in that industry. Before, I used to just go around writing scripts and trying to get people to put money into it and buy it. I got to a few places and I realized that wasn't the case. Just like any other industry, there are some things that are standard to the industry and people know that. And I said, okay, let me find a different approach. So now, like I told you, a buddy of mine, we partnered up. I realized that he had all this film equipment that he had purchased, really didn't know anything about filming. I don't know why he started buying them, but it's a blessing. It's a blessing to me now. So he called me up and said, hey, listen, I want you to come over here and take over this thing and run it because I know you're into film. So that's one of the reasons why I actually left New York and came to Houston. And so I came down here. Now we're working on several projects from, short films, feature films, TV shows, reality series that we're working on to put together. So I'm the creative director for all those things at the station. It's a station that we call Cry Out Radio. And it's actually called Cry Out also because I wanted it to, he wanted it and I came in and I applauded because we wanted it to embody the voices that, are left out from, all the politics that goes on in filmmaking. So I'm one of those voices who I felt like I was good enough to actually have something that people could see, but I couldn't really get myself in. So now I'm taking kind of like the back door in, but I'm still going to absolutely be in the forefront at the end of the day. So that's what I'm working on now, just working on several projects. And then I have also a few contracts that have come in recently for a short film, for a feature film. I'm actually traveling March 22nd to Delaware to direct some feature film that I've been contracted for.
Well, that is cool. And everything is working for a reason with you. It's your destiny. I mean, you came from New York. Here's your buddy with the cameras and the studio. And, I mean, you're set up. God has you all set up. I think that's marvelous. And
It is. And the funny thing, like most East Coast, and I'll say most New Yorkers, anything outside of New York just doesn't feel like home. Anything outside of the city, you almost feel like you're not in your element. So I was one of those people who didn't care to be nowhere else down south. If I had even think about going somewhere, it would be LA. But so coming to Houston was a tough one.
Yes.
Really, yeah, really. I think the first time we came, my wife actually came before I did with the baby, and she was like, "I don't care what you do, I'm staying here." I'm like, "Well, you can stay there all you want. I'll visit you guys and then come, and we'll figure this thing out after a while." So for 6 months, I didn't come with the family, and I stayed back, and and she was like, "This is not going to work." I said, "Well, when it gets to the part where it's starting to really fall apart, then I'll see." But my whole idea was stay in New York, hurriedly try to make something happen so she can move back. And God had different plans.
See?
And God had different plans. So after 6 months, if anything, things got really worse. So nothing was happening. So I called her and I said, "I think you win. I'm coming in." She said, "It's not about winning. It's about being able to follow the path." And I'll say this also on air. Coming to Houston was actually a prophecy. We had visited a church one day, and we're sitting in the church. The first day we went to church, my wife and my daughter was about a year old at that time, and this guy was preaching, and all of a sudden he just breaking his preaching. He said, I see two people here in Texas," and he, maneuvered around the church, and he said, "You two, come here." And we went up front, and he said, "Do you guys have family in Texas?" I said, "No." He said, "Well, God is telling me that you guys should move to Texas." And I'm like, you got to be freaking kidding. I'm like, "Why? Like, you kidding?" It's like, "Yeah." I said, "No, you're not." He said, "No." It's like, a few weeks later, we went and visited the church again, and he said the same message. So when we went home that night, we actually packed everything, and I said, "Okay, we'll come." I brought the family and had them settled. And I went back to the church, and I told him, I said, "Well, this is going to be our goodbye, at least for them two. Maybe I'll come and visit again." He said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Because we actually moving to Houston." And I'm one of those people, Nadia, where if you say God said, I'm taking it. Even if you're lying, I will go to God and say, "You cannot let him use your name or her use your name and play me. So you have to make this about you." I will go to God and say, "God, you made him to think he's lying to me, but you knew that you wanted me to do this, so I'm going."
That is cool. That is cool.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. Good for you. Well,
Yeah.
everything is going to be great. You're going to be blessed. You are being blessed, and you're happy being there now, and you're with your family, and you're where you should be. And it's hard. It's hard to be separated from your wife and children, and you're in the right place, and you're with your family. That is great. I love that. Well, let's talk about how can the listeners get your book and get information on your social media. How can they contact you?
Right now, the book is on Amazon. So if you type in "Forget Norms" or "Provocative Reasoning," thank goodness I don't have anyone with that name. It's one of the first things that comes in. So it's "Forget Norms" with an S. And if you want to add the subtitle or "Provocative Reasoning," it's on Amazon, it's on Goodreads, it's on every platform, Apple. Right, and we're currently trying to get the audiobook ready so we can put it out there for people who just like to listen to it. And social media, you can contact me at Forget Norms Book on Instagram and Facebook. I really wasn't a big social media person until this book now that I have to do, so I'm using those handles. But I also have a private Instagram page, which is it's Mr_Fascino, which is FASCINO _ENT. So yeah, that one is a little bit hard, but it's MR_FASCINO _ENT. And that's my personal page, and you can also reach me on there.
Cool. Wonderful. Yay. Okay. That is great. And I'm glad that you talked about all that you did, because we really need to hear that. And it's so weird that your book is actually everything I'm thinking about. And it's like I'm getting affirmation from God that I'm going in the right direction. So that's cool. I love it.
That is good.
Yes.
Thank you. One more thing, Nadia.
Yes.
Actually, you can get me also on the website, www.forgetnorms.com.
Okay.
That's also my official website.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good for you.
And Nadia, you're the first interview that I'm doing, so this is very special to me.
Oh, it's great. Well, thank you.
The first
I love
interview
it.
I'm doing for the book. We actually plan to start promoting the book in May, but this one, when I saw you and I listened to a couple of your guests that you have on there, something gravitated me towards you, and I said, you know what, I'm going to reach out to her and say I want to talk to her.
Oh, that is cool. I was wondering where you came from. I thought it was LinkedIn, but I don't think it was.
I just showed up.
You just showed up. And yeah, sometimes people email me and ask me, can I be on the show? I'm an author, blah, blah, blah. And of course. And then I even got an email the other day. A guy said, he wrote me an email. He said, what is the possibility of getting a signed photo of you? So I get those too. So, but anyway, that is cool. Well, thank you so much, and God bless you, and much success to you. I know that you are successful, and I'm so grateful to have met you, and thank you for reaching out to me. Otherwise, I would not have met you. So it's wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you for having me, Nadia.
God bless you.
You too.
I want to thank my guest, Neville Diony, for being on my show and for reaching out to me to be on my show. It's wonderful. I love it. And I was wondering, where did he come from? But it's great to learn from everyone. It's great to learn from each other. We can never get too much education. So I'm thrilled when I have someone like Neville who has so much passion for what he has written, for what he believes, and what he has experienced. And we all have experience. And we need to have faith and belief in God and love. This is the main thing, because nothing is impossible with God once you love him, trust him, and you have faith. So don't forget who you are. Don't forget who you are. You deserve to live your dream. You are worthy. It is by choice and not by chances that we change our circumstances. Thank you for listening to the Nadia Sahari Show. And I now have an app, and I would just love it if you would download my app. Just go to the Apple Store or to your Android and do a search for Nadia Sahari. And there's my app with my initials. Download it. Listen to the podcast from there. It takes you to the website. And if you click on those 3 lines and you go to more, you can rate the app for Apple or Android. And I sure would appreciate that. Give us a 5 stars if you think we're a 5-star. That would be great. But thank you so much. And be sure to go to my website, which is also from the app. You can contact my website from the app. And you can listen to the shows. There's a podcast link. I mean, it's got everything. So, but thank you so much for listening and sharing. I appreciate it. And if you need any promotion for your book or business or whatever you may have, send me an email to info@the Nadia Sahari Show. I have fabulous package for you to sponsor, and it will be listened to forever on all the platforms by millions of people. So God bless you, and take good care of yourself. Be safe, and be sure to live your dream. Are you living your dream?
Thanks for tuning in with Nadia and her guests. For more info, episodes, and connection, please visit our website, thenadiasaharishow.com. Share episodes with your friends. Follow us on Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes, Instagram, and most importantly, never give up. Live your dream.
Latin Connection magazine is a family magazine featuring people of influence, cultural events, and traditions. Recipes and photos of Latin food, Hispanics in business. Plus, get news on Latin festivals, Latin entertainment, and Latinos in the fashion industry. And see photos of Latinos in action all over the U.S. Conoce tu vecino y mucho más. We invite you to share your special event with us at LatinConnectionMag.com. Latin Connection Magazine. Conexión Latina y mucho más. Latin Connection magazine. It's for anyone and everyone to enjoy, no matter who you are.